I want to share a story with you today, one filled with surprises, emotions, and moments that might just touch your heart. I hope you enjoy it and feel inspired to keep turning the pages. Ready? Let's begin. My name is Sarah Wilson. I work as a nurse at a hospital in the north part of Chicago. The city looks different from the hospital windows every season. I especially like the snow in winter. When the city is covered in white snow, it feels a little kinder. Today, after working a long 12-hour shift, I went back to my apartment feeling very tired. When I opened the door, I saw a small shelf with a photo of my father. My father died of lung cancer 5 years ago. When I look at his photo and see his warm smile, my heart feels heavy. "I'm home, Papa," I say to his picture. He never answers, but I feel like he is watching over me kindly. When my father was sick, I stopped working for a while to take care of him full-time. Being a nurse helped, but caring for my own father was much harder than I thought. Still, I don't regret spending those last days with him. "Sarah, you always put yourself last. You need to care more about your own life," he told me once. I think he knew me well. I opened the fridge and heated up some leftover food from yesterday. It's simple, but it's enough for tonight. As I ate, I remembered I hadn't answered my mother's call again today. My mother, Linda, has become more strict and harsh since Dad died, especially with me, but she is nicer to my sister, Ashley. This has been true since we were kids, but when Dad was alive, it felt more fair. Now, it's different. "Sarah, why do you wear such cheap clothes? You're a nurse, you should buy better things." "Sarah, you're just like your father, stubborn and selfish. Learn from Ashley. She thinks about her future." My mother's words always hurt. No matter what I do, it's never good enough. Sometimes I cry, but I'm used to it. That's how we are. I looked at the mail on the table, bills and ads. I hoped for a letter from Ashley, but there was none. Lately, she talks to me less. Ashley finished law school and works at a big law firm in the city. Her school cost was paid by Dad's insurance money and my savings. I chose to help my sister's future instead of my own career. I don't regret it. I want her to have a good life. And now she is making it happen. A few months ago, I heard Ashley got engaged to Thomas Johnson, a lawyer at her firm. I didn't hear it from her, but from Mom on the phone. Ashley is engaged to Thomas. Isn't it wonderful? He went to a top university and is a promising lawyer. The first success story in our family. Mom's words said more than that. "Not you. I'm just a nurse." In her eyes, I'm not successful. Since I heard about the engagement, I know they are planning the wedding, but I haven't gotten an invitation. At first, I thought maybe the mail was late, but as days go by, I start to feel worried. I am family. I should naturally be invited, or so I wanted to believe. "Sarah, she's busy. Wedding preparations are demanding. You know." That was Mother's response when I finally got up the courage to call and ask last week. I can't reach Ashley herself. Messages or calls from her are rare. I tell myself it's because she's busy. I pick up my smartphone and look at the last text message from Ashley. It's from 3 months ago. "Thank you, Sarah. I was really happy. Thomas also liked your present. Let's meet soon." Since then, soon has never arrived. Strangely enough, I've built a good relationship with Thomas's family, particularly with his mother, Sandra, whom I met by chance through a mutual acquaintance and hit it off with. Sandra is a former nurse who now works for a healthcare-related NPO. We share a common interest in medicine and occasionally chat over tea at a cafe. "Sarah, you're truly a thoughtful person. Ashley always says she's proud of you," Sandra said once. I was a bit surprised to think that Ashley talks about me. At least she seems to be saying nice things, which is reassuring. After finishing dinner and taking a shower, I prepare for tomorrow. Tomorrow is a rare day off. I don't have any special plans, but I'm looking forward to relaxing a bit. Lying in bed, I find myself thinking about the invitation again. The wedding is next month already. Is there still time? Should I buy a dress? What would be a good present? What does Ashley need? With these thoughts, I fell asleep. On the morning of the wedding day, I woke up early. The soft morning sun streaming through the window dyed the room a pale orange. Today is my sister Ashley's special day. The invitation never arrived, but I believed that, as family, of course I would attend. That's what I wanted to believe. From my closet, I took out the pastel blue dress I had specially purchased last month. It was my father's favorite color. It wasn't expensive, but for someone living a modest life like me, it was a bit of a luxury. Standing before the mirror, I fixed my appearance, carefully arranging my hair in an updo. I attached pearl earrings, a keepsake from my father, to my earlobes, completing a simple but elegant look. At least today, you look somewhat decent, I spoke to my reflection. My mother's voice echoed in my mind. Today, of all days, I wanted to rebut her words, those constant criticisms of my appearance. On the bed lay a gift for Ashley, a handmade blanket I had knitted over 2 months. White yarn, with small blue flower patterns woven in, a design wishing for purity and happiness in married life. It was modeled after a legendary blanket that father had given mother when he proposed, or so the story goes. It was one of the few happy family memories I had ever heard from mother. Many times. I hope Ashley likes it. I carefully wrapped the gift in paper and tied it with a ribbon. On the card, I wrote simply, "Wishing you eternal happiness." Sometimes, fewer words resonate more deeply. I called a taxi and headed to the luxury hotel downtown. The cityscape of Chicago, visible from the car window, was going about its usual daily routine, but my heart was filled with complex emotions. Joy, expectation, and anxiety were all mixed together. I wanted to celebrate my sister's special day, but I was also questioning, why had I never received an invitation? "Windsor Hotel," announced the taxi driver. "Thank you," I said. After paying the fare, I took a deep breath and stepped into the hotel lobby. Luxurious marble floors, massive chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, flower arrangements decorated here and there. Just as mother had often said, Ashley had chosen the finest venue. The wedding reception was set up at the entrance to a large hall with a balcony. A young female staff member greeted me with a warm smile. "Good morning, may I have the name on your invitation?" Trying to remain as natural as possible despite my nervousness, I said, "Sarah Wilson." The staff member looked through the list, then carefully traced it with her finger to double-check. I could see her expression gradually clouding. "I'm sorry, but," she hesitated for a moment, as if carefully choosing her words, "your name isn't on the list." For a moment, I thought there must be some mistake, a misunderstanding, or perhaps an omission. "Could you please check again?" "Sarah Wilson. I'm the bride's sister." The staff checked the list again and even consulted quietly with a colleague. Her troubled expression told me this wasn't a simple mistake. "I'm very sorry. Your name is..." Still holding the gift, I entered the venue with permission. Many guests had already gathered in the elaborately decorated hall. Among the sea of unfamiliar faces, I searched for my mother, and then I found her. She was enjoying a conversation with a smile, champagne glass in hand. Feeling my heartbeat quicken, I slowly approached her. When mother noticed me, she momentarily froze her expression, then quickly turned a smile to those around her and ended her conversation. I quietly asked, "They told me at reception that my name isn't on the list. Is there some mistake?" Linda looked me up and down, as if appraising my outfit, then put on a cold smile. The familiar color of contempt floated in her eyes. "There's no mistake," she said. Her voice was low but controlled, so those around us couldn't hear. "Did you honestly think you were invited? Outsiders aren't allowed in." Those words hurt more than I had expected. I thought I was mentally prepared, but I wasn't ready emotionally. Even if our relationship had cooled, I never thought I'd be excluded from such an important family day. "But what about Ashley? Doesn't she want me here either?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Ashley is about to begin a happy married life. She doesn't need reminders of failures like you." Linda's words stung like poison needles, but at that moment, I caught sight of a familiar figure in the corner of the venue, Sandra Johnson, Thomas's mother. She seemed to have overheard the conversation between Linda and me and was approaching with a surprised expression. I took a deep breath and suppressed my emotions. I couldn't let the tears show. I didn't want to appear weak in front of my mother. "I see. I understand," I said quietly but resolutely. "Then I'll live my life as an outsider too." I placed the gift I had been holding on a table. "This is for Ashley. Would you give it to her? That is, if it's not too much of a burden for you." As I turned to leave, Sandra gently grabbed my arm. "Sarah, wait, what's happening? Ashley said she wanted you to come. She was talking about you just last week." I was confused. Sandra's words and Linda's attitude, between these two incompatible stories. I couldn't determine the truth. Sandra, this is a family matter. Please don't interfere, Linda admonished her in a stern tone. It's all right, Sandra, I interrupted. Today is my sister's important day. I don't want to cause any problems. Sandra looked like she wanted to say something, but I gently smiled, squeezed her hand, and simply said, "Thank you," before leaving. When I stepped outside the hotel, the sky was clear, but my heart was in turmoil, like a storm. I hailed a taxi. "I want to go home," I said. The driver, seeing me holding back tears in the back seat, kindly started driving without asking any questions. Meanwhile, the wedding preparations had entered their final stage. Music was playing, and guests were starting to take their seats. As the announcement signaling the start of the ceremony echoed through the hall, Linda's smartphone began to ring. At first, she tried to ignore it, but when the phone wouldn't stop ringing, she showed an apologetic expression to those around her and stepped outside the venue. She heard Ashley's excited voice through the phone. "Where's Sarah? I said I wanted to see her before the ceremony." Linda was momentarily at a loss for words. "She didn't come," she replied. Her own voice sounded hollow as she lied. "What? But Sandra says she saw Sarah. She was at the venue." At that moment, Linda saw Sandra talking to Ashley, her expression severe, apparently telling her the truth. When Linda returned to the venue, the ceremony had already begun. Ashley, dressed in a beautiful wedding gown, was making her entrance. However, there was a trace of hesitation in her expression. As the priest's words progressed, Ashley suddenly looked around and stood up. "Where's Sarah?" At Ashley's question, the venue fell silent. Her voice was filled with both anxiety and confusion. Though radiant in her pure white dress, her expression showed unmistakable distress. The groom, Thomas, stood up, looking confused, and whispered to her, "Kate, what's wrong? Let's continue the ceremony." "Wait, Thomas," Ashley said, shaking her head. "Sarah's not here. My sister isn't here." A soft murmur spread among the guests. The priest looked around nervously, seemingly unsure how to proceed. Sandra stood up and stepped forward, her expression stern, as though about to announce something serious. "Ashley," Sandra began gently, "Sarah was here, but..." She chose her words carefully, glancing briefly at Linda. "She left." "What? What do you mean?" Ashley's voice trembled. Sandra took a deep breath and quietly continued. "Sarah was told her name wasn't on the guest list. She wasn't allowed into the venue." The color drained from Ashley's face. She turned pale and looked at Linda. With a trembling voice, she asked, "Mom, what does this mean? Sarah is my sister. Why did you remove her name from the invitation list?" Linda, conscious of the many eyes on her, looked visibly uncomfortable. She shrank slightly, her voice low and defensive. "Ashley, this is your special day. If Sarah came, she would try to steal the attention, as always. I just wanted to prevent her from taking the spotlight on your big day. She always needs to be the center of attention," she added bitterly. Anger sparked in Ashley's eyes. "That's not true. Sarah has never been jealous of me or tried to steal attention. She's always supported me." Linda scoffed. "You just don't know her true nature. I was only trying to protect you." The murmuring in the venue grew louder. Thomas looked at his parents with a confused expression. Then, Thomas Johnson, who had been sitting beside Sandra, stood up. A tall, dignified man and senior partner at the law firm. His voice was low but commanding. "What is the meaning of this?" he asked, his gaze fixed on Linda. "We thought today was a blessed day, when two families would become one. Mom has been keeping Sarah away for months," Ashley continued. "She wanted me to believe that all my success was mine alone. But I wouldn't be here today, on this very day, without Sarah." Holding Thomas's hand, Ashley looked back on the past. "I was able to go to law school because Sarah helped pay my tuition. She sacrificed her own career to care for Dad and support my dreams. When I had my first job interview, it was Sarah who bought me a suit, who practiced with me night after night." A hush fell over the crowd. Many guests exchanged sympathetic looks. Some dabbed at their eyes. Linda's face had turned pale. Her eyes dropped to the floor, unable to meet her daughter's gaze. "And this dress I'm wearing today, Ashley added, lifting the hem slightly. I wanted to consult Sarah when choosing it, but Mom said, Sarah is too busy. Her voice broke, and fresh tears welled up. Sandra stepped forward and gently placed a hand on Ashley's shoulder. Sarah is a truly wonderful person, she said softly. She's always talking about how much she loves you. Every time we meet, she asks, how's Ashley? Are her wedding preparations going well? At those words, Ashley's expression crumbled completely. Her tears fell freely now. I'm the worst sister, she whispered. I took everything Sarah did for me for granted. Then Thomas stepped forward, his expression calm but resolute. Everyone, he said, addressing the room, I apologize, but we're postponing today's ceremony. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the venue, surprise, concern, but also nods of quiet understanding. We believe a true wedding can only happen when the whole family is together, Thomas continued. Without Sarah, Ashley's sister, this ceremony is incomplete. Ashley turned to him, her eyes filled with gratitude, and squeezed his hand tightly. Thank you, she whispered. Then Thomas's father, Thomas, stepped forward, with the dignified air of a seasoned professional. He faced the guests and spoke with calm sincerity. Ladies and gentlemen, despite many of you traveling from afar, we ask for your understanding. Today was meant to be a celebration of unity and love, and in that spirit, we must make sure that no member of our family is left behind. Please understand our decision, Thomas said. Then he turned to Linda with a stern expression and added, I cannot trust someone who doesn't value family. How could you do something so despicable? Linda was at a loss for words. She stood motionless, her face pale, her hands trembling slightly. It was the moment the false image she had built over the years crumbled in an instant. Ashley lifted the hem of her wedding dress with one hand, clutching her smartphone with the other. I need to find Sarah. I need to apologize to her. Thomas nodded and placed his jacket over Ashley's shoulders. Let's go together. The two began walking toward the venue doors. On the way, Ashley stopped, turned back, and looked at Linda. Mom, I can't easily forgive what happened today. But you are my mother. I hope there will be a day when we can reconcile. Linda couldn't say anything, she just cried silently. Ashley and Thomas held hands and left the venue behind them. Thomas and Sandra were handling the guests. Sandra called out to Ashley. When you find Sarah, tell her we send our love too. After the two left the venue, a beautiful sunset spread across the sky. Ashley took a deep breath and said, I know where Sarah is. Pulling Thomas toward the car, they headed for Sarah's apartment. Sarah's apartment was on the third floor of an old building in North Chicago. It was where she had once lived with her father, and she continued to live there after his death, cherishing the memories. From the window, she could see a small park, the changing seasonal views her only comfort. Having returned from the wedding, Sarah sat on the sofa by the window, still in her formal attire, ignoring her constantly ringing smartphone. She just stared outside. In the park, children were playing, parents watching with smiles, a scene that made one feel the warmth of family. Family, Sarah whispered softly. Something felt broken inside her after today's events. Her tears had already dried, leaving only emptiness in her heart. I'll live as an outsider, she murmured. She stood up and headed to the closet to take off her dress. She would probably never wear it again. Around 7 p.m. A sudden knock sounded at the door. Sarah did not respond, hoping whoever it was would leave, but the knocking continued, and eventually, voices were heard. Sarah, open up, please. It was her sister Ashley's voice. Sarah didn't move. Sarah, we're here, let us talk to you this time, came Sandra's voice. Sarah was confused. Sandra's here too? Sarah, I understand how you feel, but could you please open the door? A male voice, probably Thomas's. Sarah hesitantly walked to the door. Looking through the peephole, she saw Ashley, Thomas, Sandra, and Thomas outside. Ashley was still in her wedding dress, her eyes red and swollen. Taking a deep breath, Sarah slowly opened the door. Sarah, Ashley couldn't wait and rushed in, clinging to Sarah. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Her voice was thick with tears, her body trembling. Sarah was surprisingly calm. Ashley, what about your wedding? Why are you here? Thomas stepped forward and quietly explained. We postponed the ceremony. We felt a wedding without you would be meaningless. Sarah was speechless. Thomas's parents also stood there, smiling gently. Sandra softly said, "May we come in?" Sarah nodded silently and led everyone into the living room. The apartment was small, but she had created a warm space in her own way. Photographs of memories with her father adorned the walls. Medical books and novels lined the bookshelf. Ashley, still crying, took Sarah's hand. I had no idea you were removed from the list. Please believe me, we learned the truth at the venue. Thomas continued, his voice calm but remnants of anger still evident. Your mother, Mom, removed your name. Sarah said, and I remember all you did for me. Ashley took both of Sarah's hands and looked at her with a serious expression. Law school tuition, the suit for my first job interview, nursing Dad during his illness, it was all thanks to you. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes. She had never felt such complex emotions, anger, sadness, relief, and love, all mixed together. But why? Why would Mom go so far? Sarah asked in a small voice. Thomas quietly said, I think Linda wanted to take all the credit for Ashley's success. Sarah's existence threatened that narrative. Mom was crying when we left the venue, Ashley said, but honestly, I don't feel I can forgive her yet. Silence filled the room. Sarah stared out the window, lost in thought for a long time. Then, slowly raising her face, she looked at her sister. You are my sister, that will never change. Sarah's voice was soft but strong. What Mom did, it may take time to forgive, but it's not your fault. Ashley showed an expression of relief and embraced Sarah again. The sisters held each other for a long time, as if reclaiming the bond that had been lost for years. Thomas gently approached the two and said, Sarah, we want you at our wedding, the postponed one, of course. I'd be delighted. Sarah smiled, her first genuine smile. Sandra placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder and said kindly, You're already part of our family. We won't let anyone keep you away anymore. Thomas nodded and added, In our house, family is treasured. That's what matters most. That night, they talked until late, filling in the gap created over the years. They reminisced about the past. Sarah spoke of memories with their father, Ashley's childhood adventures, and the good times they had spent together. Remember that summer when Dad took us to the lake? Sarah said nostalgically. Of course. When I almost drowned and you jumped in to save me. Ashley laughed. Dad called you our family hero after that. As the night grew late, Sandra and Thomas decided to leave. We'll come again tomorrow, Sandra promised, giving Sarah a tight hug. Ashley and Thomas stood up too, but Sarah stopped them. Why don't you stay here tonight? I'll pull out the sofa bed. And so, the following Saturday, Ashley and Thomas's wedding was held in a small garden. Only close friends and family were invited. This time, Sarah would stand beside her sister as the maid of honor. An invitation was also sent to Linda. At first, Sarah hesitated but then decided. She is our mother. We shouldn't cut her off completely. That kindness is your most wonderful quality, Sandra said. The day before the wedding, Linda visited Sarah's apartment. She looked older than before, with deep fatigue under her eyes. Sarah, Linda struggled with words. Come in, Sarah said quietly and led her mother into the living room. I've come to apologize, Linda's voice was small and trembling. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted to tell you. Sarah knew that Thomas's parents had persuaded Linda, fearing she might not be able to attend her son's wedding either. Still, it was the first time her mother had spoken words of apology. It will take time, Sarah said honestly. But tomorrow is Ashley's special day. Let's be at peace for her sake. Linda nodded silently. On the wedding day, while helping with preparations, Sarah prepared a special gift. It was her father's keepsake, a beautiful sapphire necklace. Ashley, this is for you. Sarah handed the necklace to her sister. It's Dad's keepsake. He said he wanted you to wear it. Ashley was too moved for words and simply embraced her sister. Dad would be happy, Sarah said softly. The ceremony took place in an atmosphere of love and reconciliation. Linda sat quietly in her seat, watching her daughters. Sarah arranged the hem of Ashley's dress, and the two smiled at each other. "I'm so glad you're here," Ashley whispered. "I'm not going anywhere." "I promise," Sarah replied. Winter, 1 year later. Chicago was covered in snow. Sarah returned to her apartment with tired steps after finishing her night shift at the hospital. When she opened the door, warm air and the small lights of the Christmas tree in the living room greeted her. Sarah's life had changed significantly over the past year. Lunch with Ashley once a week had become her routine, sometimes in the busy hospital cafeteria, sometimes at their favorite restaurant downtown. The two shared their daily lives and memories, as if making up for lost time. "Remember that doll you wanted for Christmas when you were 5? Sarah asked at lunch last week. Ashley laughed nostalgically. "Of course. I was waiting at the door for Dad to come home from work, and you said Santa is busy, so he asked Dad to bring it." In reality, Sarah had used her own savings to buy that doll, going shopping secretly without their father knowing. Her sister's smile was her greatest treasure. On the table was an invitation from Ashley that had arrived recently. "Merry Christmas. Please spend it with us at our home." This year, the card had a note written by hand. "I have something special to tell you." Sarah smiled. Last week at lunch, Ashley had hinted she might be pregnant. She hadn't said it clearly yet, but Sarah had a feeling. She saw the gentle way Ashley touched her belly and the special glow on her face. Sarah's relationship with her mother, Linda, was still difficult. Since the wedding, Linda had stayed away from the family and lived alone. She used to be very popular, but after her lies and tricks became known, her friends stopped talking to her. Sometimes Sarah heard news about her mother from Ashley, but she avoided seeing Linda herself. "Mom is trying to change," Ashley said last month, "but it's hard for her." Linda had called and messaged Sarah a few times, but the messages were short and formal. Her pride kept her from saying sorry. Sarah took a shower and made a warm cup of tea. Outside, the snow was falling harder. Tomorrow was Christmas Eve. Before going to Ashley and Thomas's house, Sarah had to work a short shift at the hospital. She sat on the sofa and looked at her father's photo. "Merry Christmas, Papa. This year will be different." Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Sarah checked the time, 10 p.m. Who could be at the door so late? Looking through the peephole, Sarah saw Linda. She wore a snow-covered coat and held a small bag. Her face looked nervous but determined. Sarah opened the door slowly. "Sarah." Linda's voice was soft and shaking. "Can we talk?" Sarah thought a moment, then nodded quietly. "Come in. You must be cold." Linda came in and brushed off the snow. She no longer looked proud, just like a tired, ordinary woman. Sarah took off Linda's coat and led her to the living room. "Would you like some tea?" "Thank you," Linda said quietly. They drank tea in silence. Outside, snow fell gently. Linda tried to speak several times, then took a deep breath and said, "Sarah, I was a bad mother. I'm sorry for hurting you." Tears filled her eyes. "For a long time, I blamed others and made excuses, but I was wrong." Sarah stayed quiet, just listening. "You always gave up your own needs to help the family, caring for Dad and paying for Ashley's school. You were a better parent than me." Linda's voice shook. "But I was too scared to admit it." She put the small bag on the table. "This isn't a gift, it's something I must give back." Sarah opened the bag. Inside was a small box. Opening it, she found diamond earrings from her grandmother. After Dad died, Linda said they were lost. "These are yours. I took them. I'm very sorry." After a moment, Sarah spoke softly. "Forgiving you isn't easy. Your words have hurt me for a long time." She took a deep breath. "But maybe we can start to fix things, little by little." A small hope showed on Linda's face. "Tomorrow is Christmas dinner at Ashley and Thomas's. Will you come?" Sarah asked. "You want me there?" Linda looked surprised. "We're family," Sarah said simply. "And Ashley has special news." The next day, Ashley and Thomas's house was warm and full of laughter. Sandra and Thomas had come to help Ashley in the kitchen. When Sarah arrived, Ashley ran to hug her. "Sarah, you came." "Of course," Sarah laughed. "Oh, and Mom's coming too." Ashley smiled. Really? That's great. Thomas set one more plate at the table. Soon, Linda arrived with small gifts. She looked nervous and was especially humble around Sandra and Thomas. Sandra smiled and gave Linda a cup of cinnamon tea. We all make mistakes. What matters is having the courage to say sorry and try to change. Before dinner, Ashley and Thomas shared big news. Everyone, we have wonderful news, Thomas said proudly. Ashley is pregnant. In 5 months, we'll have a baby. Everyone cheered, and Ashley took Sarah's hand. Sarah, I want you to be the godparent. Someone kind and strong like you should be with this child. Sarah nodded, tears in her eyes. I'd be honored. I will love this baby with all my heart. Linda sat quietly, tears shining in her eyes too. And Mom, Ashley said, I want you to be part of the baby's life as a grandmother. The past is behind us. What matters is the future. After dinner, Sarah sat by the window watching the snow. Linda came quietly. What a lovely family, she said softly. It's because of you, Sarah. Your kindness helped bring us together again. Sarah smiled. We did it together. Family needs all of us. Sarah's patience and love broke the cycle of hurt and brought a new start. Like her father taught her, forgiveness is powerful. Linda, after a long road, began to understand how much pain she caused. Now, she was trying every day to be a better mother. It wasn't easy, but it was her way to heal the family. That night, when the whole family took a photo, Sarah thought of her father. Can you see, Papa? We're a family again, different, but still family. Outside, snow kept falling softly. The past was not fully healed, but a new hope shone quietly on the family's new beginning.